I like your background. You didn't come out of Harvard MBA. You sort of, had a pretty humble beginning and, achieved this pinnacle level of success. So I think you got kind of have some great principles that drove you there.
Yeah, it was a struggle, man. I was coming out of college on an Army scholarship. So I spent 8 years just, getting my ass handed to me as an officer in the US Army and learning some things and having some struggles there and being a law school dropout, a corporate finance quitter, commercial real estate failure, and just struggle until I just finally found my groove.
Well, what got you there? What were some of you have anything off top of mind, like principles that you think really got to where you are today?
The main principle is honestly a quote by Jim Rohn, which is you're the average of the five people you spend the most time with. So I read that quote in a book and I realized I'm just not hanging out with the right people. Like I'm not hanging out with bad people, but they're not like inspired to create a life of freedom and a life of abundance and a life of value. They're just focused on making money and success and fame and fortune and whatever that means to them. And he said, it's time to kind of change my five. And that's led me to read more books, to listen to more audiobooks, to listen to podcasts, which then eventually led me to saying, hey, what if I can even get closer to these people that I'm spending time with via reading and listening to their content and actually interact with them one-on-one like we're interacting right now. And that led me to launch the first daily podcast interviewing the world's most successful entrepreneurs called Entrepreneurs on Fire. And that was a decade ago, 3,000 episodes ago, 100 million total listens ago. And here I am today.
Wow, I like that one. That one sticks out. I feel like the older I get, I really believe in the average of five. Are there any other principles that stick out to you, John, that sort of got you where you are?
I'd say there's really three main principles that got me to where I am today. The first one is just the reality of being productive and productivity in general. And a lot of people get this wrong. They think that being productive is just being busy, like buzzing around, doing this, doing that, driving people places, being on social media. Productive people, in the real sense of the word that I like to use, and what I've really been doing for a long time now, is they produce the right content. And another way of saying that is they produce the right solutions to real problems. So whether it's content or a product or a service or whatever it might be, they are producing the right solutions to real problems out there in the world. So that's a key cornerstone of what I look to do every single day and been doing for a decade in my business. And number two, discipline. Discipline was kind of hammered into me as an officer in the US Army. And again, a lot of people get this wrong. They just think discipline just means that like you just commit to something and stick to it. But no, it's like it starts the day before. I like to call it winning tomorrow today. Like you need to have a plan of action and then be a disciple, disciplined enough to be a disciple to execute that plan of action every single day. And so you need to wake up in the morning and not say, okay, what's the plan for the day? That needs to have already been that needs to have already happened the day before. That's winning tomorrow today. That's being disciplined to having a plan of action when you wake up in the morning and execute upon that. And the third thing is focus. Like I won at such a high level because I focused. I followed one course until success. Everybody said a daily podcast couldn't be done. The top podcasters in the industry were telling me it couldn't be done. I hired them to see if they thought it was a good idea, and they said no. And I loved their answer because I said, if the top people in my industry that I want to get into say that it can't be done and I figure out how to do it, that is exponential benefit for me right there. That is a huge opportunity. So then I just decided to double down and focus and launch the first daily podcast interviewing the world's most successful entrepreneurs. And that's where the idea for Entrepreneurs on Fire came from. And again, as I mentioned, it's been going strong now for almost a decade, has over 1 million listens every single month. It's a true media empire.
Awesome. You ready to take these principles apart?
Let's tear them apart, brother.
Let's do it. Productivity. How do we turn this into some practical steps that someone could practice? Because I like your idea of finding the right content, right solution.
So this is the biggest thing. You need to sit down and say, what is a real problem in this world that I both can and want to solve? That's a key distinction. There's a lot of problems in this world. And by the way, 99.9% of them, you shouldn't want to touch with a 10-foot pole because you don't have the skills or the expertise or the passion or the excitement to solve those problems. But there's going to be a zone of fire for you. A zone of fire meaning there are going to be problems that you can and want and should solve. And in fact, identifying that you can become the best solution to a real problem in that. And then once you've identified what that problem is that you want to become the number one solution to, then you just produce, produce the solutions to that problem. You become so dialed in on producing the best solutions to that problem that people will beat a path to your doorstep because everybody wants the best solution to their problem. Nobody wants the second best solution. Nobody wants the 10th best solution. Yet everybody just wants to be a pale, weak imitation of other successful people out there. Nobody wants a pale, weak imitation of other people. They want you being the best version of yourself, producing the number one solution to a real problem that they have.
Find a real problem, something that is a real problem you're really passionate about, excited to solve, so you stay interested in it and essentially get obsessed on the solution to solve that problem.
Yeah. The only thing I add to that is, you want to have value, skills, and expertise in that area to go along with your passion and excitement and enthusiasm to make sure that you are solving that problem within your zone of fire.
And you got to develop that, and that may take some time.
Yeah. And you may already have the skills and knowledge, and you may need to develop it. It's going to be one of the two.
How about discipline? This is where a lot of people struggle with this. I could point a lot of people where you got all these ideas, but you need to have the discipline to commit and take actions. And we talked about creating a plan of action, be able to execute it on daily. And I liked your line about win tomorrow today.
Listen, it's easy to get excited about something. It's easy to say, wow, like I'm going to launch a podcast, or I'm going to launch a TikTok channel, or I'm going to, write a book, or I'm going to do this. I'm going to lose 10 pounds. Like it's easy to get excited about doing those things. What's hard is the execution, and discipline is where the execution part comes in. And that's why the first physical product that I created was called the Freedom Journal, which was accomplish your number one goal in 100 days. Because I knew that if people had a process that they could follow every single day, that they would stay committed for 100 days, and it would get them to a point of traction, of momentum, a tipping point that would then lead them on to that next thing. And I've had people that have literally gone through 15 freedom journals. That's 1,500 days that they've gone through and accomplished a number one goal that's led them now to the next number one goal, and so on and so forth. But discipline is something that, again, you have a plan of action that you are a disciple to execute upon.
Plan of action. And it sounds like the journal really helps frame your path to commit to those goals and be able to follow it, execute.
Agreed.
Focus, another big one.
So everybody wants to just like taste a lot of things. They say, let's just go like a mile wide and just an inch deep and like try all these different things. And, we'll see what happens. Well, you're never going to make an impact going 1 mile wide and 1 inch deep. Your impact's going to come from going 1 inch wide and 1 mile deep and focusing, following one single course until success or failure. And if you have that failure, then you say, time to focus on something else. Let's learn what we can learn from this prospect or project. And now let's take our learnings, our knowledge, our skills that we've acquired from this process and apply it to the next thing and see how that happens.
I want to know how, because it's so hard to get caught up with it. I look at marketing right now. I've recently spent the last couple of years building our marketing function in the company. And that's a good example because there's a million freaking things that you could do. How do you not get sort of overwhelmed, distracted, trying to try every little thing and really hone in and have that level of confidence saying, okay, we need to just focus on these 1 or 2 things. And maybe that's what it is. It's, you just don't have, you have uncertainty. Then that's why you keep trying different things.
It really comes down to saying, okay, like there's 10 things that we can do. Let's sit down and know that if we try to do these 10 things, they're all going to fail. So let's, to the best of our abilities, do some research, talk to some people who are experts in these different areas, and then put them in order, 1 to 10. What do we think is the best opportunity at this time? And we go all in on that for 3 months, whatever time frame you set. And then you will flush it out. And by the end, you'll know if that is a great thing or a terrible thing or somewhere in between. And then if it's somewhere in between or a terrible thing, you move on to number 2, move on to number 3. But you knock them out systematically, 1 at a time, because otherwise all 10 are going to fail. And you're going to think that none of them work. When the reality is one of them, two of them, three of them will work incredibly well for you if you figure out the process.
I like that. Really prioritize it, laser focus on the top thing that you need to do, and then assess and adjust and the next item to focus on. John, what's the best mistake you've made?
The best mistake I made back in 2013, created a SaaS product that everybody told me they wanted, but I didn't prove the concept. I just went into my little shell, built it, and then offered it to them, and nobody wanted it. And I said, what did I miss here? What I missed is that I didn't make people vote with their wallets. I didn't make people pay in advance. I didn't make people prove to me that it really was a big enough pain point that they would actually spend money on the solution for that. And I never made that mistake again.
Validation.
Via dollars and cents. Well, it was great chatting, good conversations, and enjoy the rest of your day.